chansen itute magtiarwili nisigasun o pasquac utjanina. Tawau, welcome to APTN National News. The inquest looking into Aisha Hudson's death, a teenager from Barons River First Nation, continues in Winnipeg this week. Here's Julia Ross with the details.
Testifying as witness Monday was Constable Gayton Boschman, who says he was in the police cruiser that prevented Aisha Hudson's vehicle from continuing forward after a pursuit. Hudson's car had swerved into oncoming traffic, and when moving back to her original lane of traffic, she had a collision with a Ford F-150. A video shown in court showed Hudson reversing after the collision, where she was shot twice by Constable Kyle Pradnuk. Last week, 5 officers from the Winnipeg Police Service testified as witnesses, sharing a similar recollection of April 8, 2020. Constables took to the stand to say that Aisha Hudson had been the driver when her friends robbed a liquor mart and threatened to stab a security guard. Hudson was then in a cul-de-sac in Sage Creek and rammed a police car, which in court was revealed to have no damage. Each officer has testified that ramming is police lingo, meaning a car is being used with force and is willing to take risks to avoid police, and is not an indicator of the damage done. A pursuit then took place due to Hudson ramming Sergeant Drager's police car. When Constable Boschman was asked what could be done to prevent similar tragedies from happening in the future, he stated that air support would have been helpful if they had been available. Air support had been requested on the night of April 8th, but was unavailable. Air support would allow for observation from the sky, allowing for cruisers on the ground to fall back so that the driver takes less risks when fleeing. Hudson's family has been attending the inquest each day, and the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs has requested that the family be given space during this time. Hudson's dad has been taking to TikTok to ask for support and for justice for Aisha. He suggests that body cameras be used for officers instead of air support, which was suggested by police. Julia Ross, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Indigenous leaders were in Ottawa on Monday to call on all parties to pass Bill C-10 and an act that would create a federal modern treaty commissioner. With more, here's Fraser Needham.
At a morning press conference, Hayat First Nations Chief Counsellor John Jack was there from the West Coast. He outlined why a modern treaty commissioner is needed.
Rather than creating more bureaucratic delays by having a patchwork of policies, a modern treaty commissioner would be an independent agent of Parliament. C-10 offers a path forward for Canada by ensuring that modern treaties are implemented as they were intended.
Bill C-10 was also up for debate on Monday in the House of Commons as part of its second reading. Conservative MP Rhonda Kirkland said the act would create another needless level of bureaucracy with no accountability.
In truth, it creates another office to point out the same shortcomings we have known about for years. The Auditor General has already flagged them. Indigenous leaders have already flagged them. Treaty partners have already flagged them. The problem is not a shortage of oversight. The problem is a shortage of execution.
But Minister of Indigenous Services Mandy Gull-Masty argued the legislation was co-developed with First Nations.
This law has come at the request of the nations themselves, who wish to work closely with Parliament itself and to be able to report to Parliament itself.
The bill finished second reading Monday afternoon and will now be referred to the Standing Committee on Indigenous Affairs for study. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
The future of the Inuit Child First Initiative came up in the House of Commons during question period on Monday. The program ensures Inuit children are able to access health, education, and social supports and services. NDP MP Lori Idlu said stakeholders have been waiting for direction on the future of the program since last spring's election. Idlu asked when the government is going to make an announcement on ICFI. Indigenous Services Minister Mandy Gull-Masty provided the answer.
The Honourable Member for Nunavut.
The year before the election, Liberals planned to cut the Inuit Child First Initiative. When Inuit heard this, they spoke up by the thousands. Under Nunavut's pressure, Liberals promised to extend the program. Since being elected, the Minister for Indigenous Services promised an announcement on ICFI. 9 months later, far too many Inuit children are still being kept below poverty level. Still no announcement. Will the minister finally act to help Inuit children, or should they feed themselves on her promises?
The Honourable Minister for Indigenous Services.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my colleague for, being really consistent with representing her members. The message has really been clear for me that we need to respond. That's why we've been working with our partners to look forward to see what the next step is going to be. I'm sure that she will be pleased to see what that is going to be. I am going to look forward to what the message is going to be when it comes out very briefly. Thank you.
Building economic opportunity and trade relations in the North was all the buzz in Winnipeg over the weekend, as hundreds of political and business leaders gathered to envision the shared future of Manitoba and Nunavut. Northern Perspectives 2026 saw cabinet ministers, parliamentarians, and Indigenous leaders from Manitoba and Nunavut share their perspectives on what next steps are needed to build stronger economies in the North. The 4-day conference put partnerships around infrastructure, research, and business opportunities in the spotlight. These discussions inevitably led to the U.S. President's threats to annex Greenland and the need for more security in northern Canada. Member of Parliament for Nunavut, Lori Idlu, said that's why focusing on trade is so important right now.
That really reassured me, and knowing that there are systems that exist that are entrenched between the United States and Canada, that threat is not as scary as it sounds. It's really just political games where I think at this point it's okay to say that we just need to wait him out. We just need to wait his term out. As we continue to see how unstable he is, that focuses us to diversify our trade relations and any other relationships that we have so that the Americans don't have such a stronghold on Canada's system.
A Cree Nation from northern Manitoba is in federal court this week regarding the long-term impacts of flooding and hydro development. The Opaskwayak Cree Nation's case focuses on flooding and forebay impacts from the Grand Rapids Generating Station. It was Manitoba Hydro's first northern hydroelectric project built in the 1960s. It's located about 145 kilometers southeast of Opaskwayak. The trial opened on Monday with a traditional drum ceremony inside the courthouse in downtown Winnipeg. On the stand will be OCN hunters and trappers, historians, economists, and both environmental and natural resource experts over the next month, with closing arguments scheduled for mid-May. Opaskwayak leaders say the case is relatable to many Indigenous communities across the country that, quote, face legacy impacts from from hydro development and other major infrastructure projects. The Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission, or CNSC, is in Saskatoon to consider approval of NextGen's Rook I uranium project. Northern Indigenous communities and residents will have the opportunity to share their views on the proposed mine. Video journalist Rachel May was at the day one of the hearings.
Uranium company NextGen is seeking approval for a new mine in the southwestern Athabasca Basin, about 800 kilometers from Saskatoon. Candice Salmon is the Commission Registrar for the CNSC.
So the Commission will hear from everyone, and in the end it will make a determination as to whether the duty to consult is triggered, and if it is, what accommodations need to be there, and it will make that decision relative to every nation.
If approved, the mine would process up to 1,400 tons of ore per day. Salmon says the CNSC is focused on ensuring all voices are heard and that environmental safety is prioritized.
We know that there's a history in northern Saskatchewan in particular of there being issues prior to the CNSC's existence, but we have an over 75-year track record of keeping people and the environment safe, and we're very confident in how we do that.
According to the CNSC, 48 interventions are scheduled for this week's hearings. Many people from northern communities traveled to Saskatoon to speak, including Doris Athengaye White Deer of Fond du Lac Denisoulene First Nation.
I'm so against it because right now on my trap line, they're killing my medicine and my water, my animals. Back in the day where I used to go up the stream, up the river, collect all this medicine, oh, it was good. And now, today, now they're gonna kill it from me, from my land, my water.
White Deer says that she is worried about increased pollution in the Athabasca Basin and the impact on hunting and fishing.
I can't even go eat out of the fish, out of the lake. I can't do that.
The hearing concludes February 12th and is open to the public at the Delta Hotels, Saskatoon, downtown. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
We're always looking for your feedback or story ideas. Here's how you can continue the conversation with us. If you have a story that you want to share, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. To read and watch our stories, you can go to aptnnews.ca, or you can find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. Time for a quick break, but first here's Tina House in British Columbia to tell us what she's working on.
Tanse, I'm Tina House. I'm here in Sechelt, BC, to talk about a new partnership between Renewal Development and the Sechelt First Nation, which brought these houses from the Lower Mainland here to the First Nation to help with the housing crisis. That's tomorrow on APTN National News.
Come on in, Pete DeGuay. An organization working to end homelessness and reduce poverty is marking its 1-year anniversary in Saskatoon. The milestone is being celebrated with what they are calling their biggest fundraiser of the year. Here's Rachel May again with those details.
And it's an invitation for people to step out of the warmth and comfort of their own homes and walk in solidarity with our neighbors who are experiencing homelessness and who are out there in the cold, not by choice.
Krista Dawn Kimsey is the Community Engagement Specialist with the Mustard Seed in Saskatoon, which provides shelter and support for the people experiencing housing insecurity. Although well established across Canada, the Mustard Seed expanded into Saskatoon in December 2024 by taking over the former Lighthouse Shelter, then opened a second location on April 1st, 2025. In Saskatoon, the Mustard Seed operates a 65-bed permanent supportive housing facility and a 40-bed temporary shelter, both offering meals, showers, clothing, and wraparound support services. Kimsey says the temporary shelter will move to a permanent location by fall 2026, adding 20 more beds, making the upcoming Coldest Night of the Year fundraiser critical.
All of the funds raised through Coldest Night of the Year will allow us to be able to continue those partnerships as well as grow our presence and imagine new partnerships so that new local people can speak into the local needs and find local solutions.
On February 28th, people of all ages are invited to join a walk in solidarity with those experiencing homelessness and have to spend cold nights outside.
By walking together, it's a sign that our community is really committed to people who are experiencing homelessness and that the Mustard Seed is committed to continuing the care that we've started this past year.
Kimsey says that while fundraising is essential to maintain support services, volunteers are just as critical, from providing programs to companionship for residents.
Even volunteering just to come and talk with our residents in our shelter or even in our housing buildings, share a meal together, there's an incredibly different kind of conversation that happens when you sit across somebody at a table. You're sharing your humanity, and you get to see things in a very different light.
The Coldest Night of the Year walk takes place February 28th at 4 p.m., starting at Forest Grove Community Church. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
A young man from Northern Ontario is getting ready to compete in an all-Indigenous boxing event in British Columbia this month. Buckskin gloves presented by Rumble at the Rock will see amateur fighters from across Canada converge on Richmond, BC. One of those fighters is 16-year-old Keenan Flett. APTN's Mike McDonald reports.
Even though he's only 16, Keenan Flett of Sandy Lake First Nation has already been boxing for 4 years. Fighting out of the underground gym in Thunder Bay, Flett says the sport has brought a lot into his life.
I like the self-esteem it gives to me. Makes me feel great about myself. Gives you a meaning to life, like something to do. Like it gives you a strength to keep on going. It gives you the confidence. My friends, my family, they push me to keep on going, even though when there's like moments where I just want to quit. But my friends, they always push me to keep on going.
Flett says that push to overcome adversity has gotten him through some tough times, especially at the beginning of his boxing journey.
When I was a beginner, I had some people like brutally beat me in the ring. I was crying in the washroom one time. I wanted to like quit the sport, but it's like the only thing I'm only good at is fighting. So I just came back, got my confidence up, and I just started controlling the ring.
Peter Panetta, owner of the underground gym and Flett's coach, says his fighter personifies the discipline and dedication needed to succeed as a fighter.
Keenan has put in a lot of work, and he's getting rewarded. He just finished Quebec last year, and now he's going to go to Vancouver and fight in an all-Indigenous fight card. So it's going to be pretty cool.
Flett won his first fight at the Quebec Open last year, ultimately taking the silver medal. Panetta says Flett's home community of Sandy Lake has been very supportive of him, as well as the gym itself.
His res is just hugely supportive. They're looking at having us go up there and, do a boxing and bullying type of, exhibition for them. They're very keen on promoting fitness for their youth, and I think that's so important.
The bell rings February 20th at the River Rock Show Theatre, and Flett has a message for his opponent.
Ethan, if you're watching this, I'm coming for you, and this fight's not going to be easy.
Mike McDonald, APTN National News, Thunder Bay.
And we tell you about a letter writing campaign that advocates for the remote Kashechewan First Nation in Northern Ontario. That when we come back after the break. Cheskwa. Wow, welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Dorothy Ratch was enjoying a sunset with Playa Las Maritas in the foreground as she enjoyed the weather in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Must be nice. Just kidding. Thanks for sharing that picture, Dorothy. Send your pictures to share@aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, Fredericton 0, Halifax 3. Over to Kuujjuaq -18, Nain -10. Then we head to Chibougamau -6, Quebec City -7. Sault Ste. Marie 0, Peterborough +1. Big Trout Lake -9, Timmins -6. Over to Churchill -14, Puketawagan -8. Barons River -9, Gimli -6. Over to North Battleford -3, Regina +1. Uranium City -15, Larange -9. And moving west, high level -13, Fort McMurray +1. Down to Edmonton -1, Calgary +7. Campbell River 5 degrees, Bellacoola -1. Dease Lake -3, Smithers +3. Way up in Old Crow -41, Mayo -20. Port Simpson -21, Watsy -23. Tuktoyaktuk is -36, while Polituck is -38. Cambridge Bay -43, Baker Lake -34. Over to Arctic Bay -25 and Igloolik -23. Hundreds of students from the Whitefish River First Nation started a letter campaign to Ontario's Premier Doug Ford and their region's MP Jim Belanger. The letters are advocating for Kashechewan First Nation in Northern Ontario. On January 4th, Kashechewan declared a state of emergency after the water treatment plant failed and sewage ended up in the community's drinking water, forcing most of the community to evacuate. Here's Principal Gail Payette of the Shawa-No-Showi, there we go, school where the Kashechewan advocacy campaign began.
I happened to come across a post that a Kashechewan community member had shared with somebody stating that they were delivered one case of water that they had to share within their household, and that there was many people in their household for drinking, for cooking, for brushing their teeth. And with the amount of people in their household, it was like an outrageous question for them to be able to do that, right? And I believe it was all delivered to all the households. And with the amount of people there, like a case of water was not enough to fully substantiate what the community needed. So what I did was I shared that in our Facebook group that we have with the staff, and I started asking questions. How do you feel about this? What can we do about it? To me, it was outrageous that a community in Ontario, in Canada, is living like this. So we had some discussions, and the staff started throwing ideas around, well, should we fundraise? Should we write letters of support? What should we do? So they came up with the idea of going back to the classrooms, showing the students news broadcasts, some YouTube videos about Kashechewan, and they decided, well, let's advocate for them. Let's write letters to the government, to our local MP, Jim Belanger, and to also Doug Ford to see if we can rally for support for them. Because honestly, we haven't seen the support from other community members, from other people in Ontario or Canada for that matter, to support Kashechewan First Nation. So the students shared some pictures and talked about what water does for us. Like we need it to live, we need it to drink, we need it to bathe, we need it to cook, and it's a necessity of life. That was our grade 1 and 2 students. Grade 3 to grade 6 wrote letters specifically to the government talking about how devastating it is, about the impact it's having on the community, what the price of water is at the local store in Kashechewan, and how the dirty water is not good for them, and just that what can the government do to support that community? As of yet, we have not. So the letters were mailed out on or about January 22nd. So whether they have received them at this point or not, I'm unsure. We have not received any response. I do know, however, that local media outlets such as Anishinaabe News, Manitoulin Expositor have jumped on this and shared this story as well, just getting it out there. And the response that we're getting in community and social media wide is a lot of people don't really understand, right? So the students sharing and asking for support for Kashechewan, I think, is opening and developing more awareness community-wide and social media-wide as well.
And apologies to my Ojibwe cousins out there for messing up that school name. And that's your APTN National News for this Monday. Mino Puna Paneo Anuts. I'm TR Wheatley. It's been a pleasure to be here with you. Kristen Adjikode is back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, and then you'll see Dennis Ward at 6 p.m. Eastern. Until then, from all of us at APTN to all of you, Egase, Gitam, Kinanasko Mitinawa.